Rinpoche is a Rishi, a Lama is a Rishi, a sage is a Rishi, and it's a Thai word. Okay, Reusi. Okay, Reishi Yoga. Basically, it works like this. And internal meditation and sort of self-meditation, like Vipassana and Shamatha meditation, really it's all about you. Okay, it's all about you. It's all about your internal state. It's about how you relate to the various energies that come to you from heaven and the various energies that come to you from earth. Okay, and about going within and going within. It could be inside your mind, inside your heart. It could be inside the visualizations of the different chakras, and so on. It could also be, for example, in Taoism-based arts like Qigong, about visualization of your 9 houses, Ming Men, Changmo, your organs, the elliptical planetary orbits of your various organs, but it's all internal. It's all about you. When I survey, for example, Tantric yoga literature, there's still a lot of focus on internal generation of heat, generation of Kundalini, movement of Kundalini within yourself. So all of that, whatever that is all happening in this big orbit right here, which we call macrocosmic orbit. And those are macrocosmic viewpoints. Macrocosmic orbit, macrocosmic orbit. Because it's about bringing down energy from heaven, and it's about bringing up energy from earth, reconciling them in some form or fashion within you, for whatever is the purpose of that exercise. And there can be many, okay? Where I see a gap or a lapse in most systems is in this idea of what happens when all this energy comes together in the heart. Okay. In that there is very little teaching about how do you translate that very big universal energy, okay, the very fine ephemeral energy of prana and breath and light and chi and ki and kundalini and so on, into manifestation in the material world. How do you translate that into action? How do you translate that into manifestation in the material world? The energy circuit that we have, whose job is to do that, okay, is this horizontal circle here. I'm using this just as symbolic representation, which we call microcosmic. All right, so we have the macro, and that's the heaven and earth, male and female, the descending male, and the descending yin and the ascending male. Okay, the macrocosmic orbit. And it's has this very strong polarity that way. It's a strong male-female polarity. The microcosmic orbit, which really is a manifestation of Anahata Chakra. It's a manifestation of the Heart Chakra. And that's the center of the two. See the two overlapping triangles, one facing down, one facing up. One represents the descending energies of the yang, heavenly influences, and the other part of the yantra is the sacred yogic symbol for the chakra. The other triangle representing the ascending energies or the rising energies which come directly from the earth. The word anahata means movement. Okay, it doesn't mean heart. And it's not wrong to say heart chakra. Okay, so that's not what I'm saying. It's not wrong to say heart. It's just that's limiting. When you think of fourth chakra just as heart chakra, it's actually, in my opinion, it's a limiting concept when you're thinking in terms of manifestation, because it doesn't really give you the true visualization of this whirlwind, torus, this cyclonic force of spinning energy which occurs when the saltwater ocean rushes in and mixes with the freshwater rivers, okay, of the freshwater inlet. That actually, whenever you have two very, very different energies that come together, they don't come together and in a way peacefully coexist. That actually never happens in nature. You can't, I don't know, if you can give me an example where polar extremes of energy come together in nature and they have a peaceful coexistence, I'd be very happy to see it. How many people have ever seen, for example, a glacier on the ocean? And the edge of the glacier on the ocean, is that a place you want to hang out very much? Why?
Big hunks falling off.
It's a very dangerous place. You don't want to hang out near the edge of the glacier on the ocean because that's where the ice falls. That's where the icebergs and the giant shelves and sheets of ice break off and fall into the ocean. So you've got all that falling debris, and you've got the turmoil in the water, which is a result of that, and you have icebergs, which are dangerous in every way for every kind of navigation. Okay, if you have an interface between opposites of energy, technically the crisp edge of that is violent. It's violent, okay? Because they have to, the energies, in order to coexist, have to go from being opposite into some kind of dance that allows them to coexist in the same place. And what appears to be abrupt and jarring, okay, is in fact that adjustment that's taking place, where the glacier is becoming the ocean and the ocean is becoming the glacier. Okay, but if you're in a local perspective, it's a pretty nasty place. Now, if you think of all the energies of heaven and all the energies of earth and how diverse they are, how far apart is yang from yin on that scale? When they come together in the heart, there is a huge shift that has to happen in order for that energy to transform and to bump up to the next level. And we have examples of this in nature where that occurs. And weather, when we have an extremely high pressure system, comes into play with a low pressure system. What is there? Where a high pressure and a low pressure come together, what do we find? Storms. Turbulence. Storms. And when they're very extreme, what do we have? Storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, okay, which also the ancient rishis observed had cyclonic energy. In other words, the way that these forces come together is not as random as it might appear. If you're just looking at a very small section of that interaction of those two energies and those two forces, it looks very chaotic and it looks very random. If you can step back from it a little bit, you see that when I'm in the hurricane, I think the hurricane is random and chaotic. But if I can see the hurricane from the point of view of the satellite, I see the elliptical form, I see the cyclonic form, I see the spiral. Okay? And it's the spiral, that circular motion, that actually allows those two energies to merge, do their dance, and then the end result of that dance is peace. Okay? Things change, and then they calm. Okay? And we say that's the next level, that's the next state of whatever that system is that I'm talking about. The cyclone in us is in fact the heart, anahata. That's where that cyclone occurs energetically. That's why, for example, all issues that relate to the heart have the potential to tear you apart, cell from cell, and or they have the ability to lift and transform you into, not just into a different state, but literally to transform every part of you as if no remaining part of the previous you even exists. Okay? That's how forceful that motion can be, right? And it's going on all the time. It's going on all the time. Now, in the material world, so we've chosen to manifest in the material world, we are conscious beings and we're in this stress-adaptive human biological transformational machine, which we call the physical body, the tangible physical body, right? How do we interact with our world? How do we take those grand energies of heaven and earth in our consciousness or Shen or spirit and interact both giving and receiving energy, which is the same as information, which is the same as contact, which is the same as the process of gathering food, it's the same process of detox and elimination, which is, how do we do that? Well, the macrocosmic orbit is what rules that function, whatever that is. It's the not microcosmic orbit that rules that function, okay? So the microcosmic orbit has this sense of eccentric and concentric contraction. Eccentric and concentric contraction. In other words, that's the arrow out and the arrow back. In other words, it pulses and it works in a sense of giving, extending its energy out from the heart, and then literally gathering and bringing energy back into the system. And that push and pull, as we would say, is actually how we interact with everything there is around us. It's through this process of pushing against it to determine resistance, okay? And to determine, in a sense, literally, where does yours end and mine begin? So the only way you can tell where my energy ends and your energy begins is through this process of pushing up against it. And then we also are gathering energy and gathering information in the contractive phase, and that's called assimilation. That's the returning part of communication. In other words, I ask you a question, which can be animal, mineral, or vegetable. It can be inner, outer, secret. It can be mind, body, spirit. It can be inner, outer, secret. I ask you a question, okay, and that's the eccentric extension of energy. It could be I touch you, I reach out to you, and that's an extension of that. That's that eccentric phase. And then you meet resistance, and then there is a reciprocity that occurs, and that's the contractile phase. That's a returning phase, as I bring that energy back to me. And if we're in sync with each other, there's a timing that's very important. In other words, I want you, when I extend, I want you to give. When I'm receiving, I want you to give. Okay? And so there's a timing. If we both extend at the same time, it's like this. If we both extend at the same time, if we both contract at the same time, in other words, I'm all about receiving energy, but if I'm all about receiving energy and you're all about receiving energy, then what does that look like? Well, it looks like we are out of touch. Okay? We have no basis for communication. We have no basis for intimacy. We have no basis for exchange of energy. Right? So it's not just that it has to be mutual. See, mutual is not a very good term because it's not very precise. Okay? Because we can both mutually extend our chi, and we can both mutually withdraw our chi at the same time. And guess what? The end result of all that mutuality is still we're not communicating. Still we're not actually exchanging energy. And this explains why, for example, in lots of exercises and lots of systems I've seen where people work very, very hard to exchange energy and nobody's really exchanging it. There's really not much energy being exchanged. Okay? Now, I know it might sound kind of critical. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. It's just my own observation. I'm not trying to be critical. Because, see, I have a competency-based judgment criteria that I apply to energy, just like I do everything. My competency-based judgment criteria for the energy exchanges, did something change? did something change? In other words, if there's an exchange of energy in the transformational center, at the end of that exchange, something should be very, very different. And if something's not very, very different, then it wasn't actually what we might think it is. A lot of times we imagine that we exchange energy, okay? That is not the same thing as actually doing it, okay? I've always been very, very fortunate that my teachers were practical people, and they never spoke about these things hypothetically. That basically we're always given exercises to show us how you manifest, how this works, how you translate the vertical axis, the golden thread, that connectivity between heaven and earth, that grounding and centering, that inward turning and inner self-realization into practical expression in the material world. As in, something changes in the material world that reflects this shift. If the material world, and that's everything about you externally, if the material world and also your constituents of your physical body, if they are not changing, then actually you are not channeling the energy. You can't be, because if you were, something would be changing, something would be different. Okay, and this rule applies to every part of you. It applies to your mind. If you find, for example, that you're still thinking thoughts that you used to have, if you're still thinking thoughts that you used to have, oh, okay, it didn't change. If you find over time that your body feels the same all the time, or you have the same physical status in your body this year as you did last year, okay, something didn't change. If you find emotionally repetitive patterns of emotional expression that come and go, small loops and big loops, guess what? It didn't change. If you find that, if you check in, you say, where was I at 2 years ago? Where was I at 5 years ago? Where am I today? Am I more powerful today? Okay? Am I more powerful? Am I more capable? Am I more intelligent? Am I more emotionally stable? Am I more cognitive about my environment? Am I more functional in many different kinds of situations, etc.? If the answer is no, then you are not functioning. Your microcosmic orbit is not functioning. Or it's not functioning at perhaps at least a high enough level that you would notice. Okay? And so we have different exercises that we practice. Some of them, they have a range of expression, and they have different names. Reishi Yoga is one of those. It's about opening up the channels for expression in microcosmic orbit, opening up any energetic impediments, any structural impediments to expressing. And it's not all about expressing your energy. Remember, it's a two-way system. If I open up the channels, not only am I able to give or to project more energy, I should equally at the same time be receiving energy. I've met lots of people who are very powerful people and can really push the chi, can really express the chi, right? But their arrow looked like this, and this arrow looked like this. On the receiving side, not receiving well, not open to receiving that reciprocity of energy that's equal to coming in from outside, okay? In other words, I want to push you. I don't want you to push me. I want to communicate with you, but I don't want you to communicate with me. I want to love you the way I want to, but I don't want you to love me the way you want to love me, okay? It's not balanced, okay? So we want to have different exercises how we do that, one of which is the Reishi Yoga, another one is our Tantra Yoga, okay? And etc. But now, in this class, in this CTP, even though I'm a Tantric yogi and virtually everything I teach is from the point of view of Tantra, I mean old school, traditional, Tibetan Thai style Tantra taught to me by my monk teachers, okay? But yet, the one thing I don't specialize in or bring energy to in this class is the sex part. Okay, there's a reason for that. The reason for that has to do with this again, has to do with this expression. In most Tantra teachings I've seen, And I'm willing to say there's probably many that I haven't seen, right? I certainly haven't seen all Tantric teachings and all Tantric teachers and all that kind of thing. But basically, they're always bringing energy to the root, okay? And that form of Tantra feeds the macrocosmic orbit. It feeds the macrocosmic orbit. It does not directly feed the microcosmic orbit, because it's not about the lower or root chakras, it's about the higher, but specifically the heart chakra. So for example, in our school, when we teach Tantra, we always start with this idea, which is the extension and projection, the giving and receiving of love and the giving and receiving of energy, okay, with a strong, I want to say this, with a strong emphasis on this word, consciousness.